What does Macon County mean to you?
The mountains are just almost something spiritual to people. People just love the mountains. To see them from a distance or to be in them, it's just something that if you are a mountain person, then you just feel that in the mountains, like it's your home. It's hard to beat, really. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find a place that has more to offer if you are drawn to nature and mountain life.
We love the land. I was brought up to love the land.
It's just got some beautiful landscapes, some beautiful waterfalls, cliffs, forests, landscape of the soul.
For a long time, I really didn't even notice the mountains. I was sitting out on the porch, in the sun, and, fall's coming, and, I just really appreciate this.
Well, this is a tract of land that was settled by my ancestors, and I guess I think I'm like seventh generation. It's still all in one tract with family, and hopefully it stays that way.
It's your home and your roots are here, and you feel tied to the land because of childhood experiences and growing up on it. It becomes a part of you, so the whole thing is special.
We farm the land on Brindletown, and we still do. It's like a community farm. Everybody in the family can just go and plant whatever they want to. Doesn't matter who owns it.
Everybody visits, Mm-hmm. You know your neighbors. Matter of fact, you're kin to most of them. But we share work. We share vegetables. We share what we have. Some of the best friends and the best neighbors in the world are in this community, without a doubt.
I think the people and the scenery is what make it so special. I always say it's God's little Eden.
We received a lot of welcomeness. We started from the bottom and worked our way up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we couldn't have done it without such nice people around.
Mountain folks, and God love them, I'm one of them, are the most independent people I believe I've ever been around. They don't want nobody telling them nothing.
People go to bed early, get up real early. It's been a real simple way of life over here. They didn't go to town much, and it's very little travel unless it's necessary. No vacation, just sit on the porch. That's about what it was.
What is your connection to the land?
I can't think of many places that aren't special to me, because every place I drive around here, I can think of a story that goes with it.
I think you have to start thinking about the watershed, because the watershed is the sum of the determining factors in the quality of the river, and because this is the only major Blue Ridge river with an intact fauna. Well, that right there makes the whole thing special. To me, the most special thing is precisely this stretch of river from Franklin downstream, including the Needmore Tract, and the possibility that you can still get up on Wesser Bald in the Nantahalas at 4,600 feet and hike down to the river at 1,700 to 1,800 feet and hike back up to Cowee Bald at 5,000 feet and be in the woods the whole time and only cross two roads. That's fairly special in the eastern United States. There's not too many opportunities to do that.
I say a prayer every day thanking the U.S. Forest Service that they own 46% of this county. I dread to think what would it look like if they didn't.
We're real attached to the Needmore area.
The Warrior Mountain.
Cowee, the Standing Indian.
Osage Gorge.
Satula, to Sunset Rock.
The Greenway.
Cowee is a really, really, really special place, and it's still so rural. What's going on in the south end of the county has not touched us in Cowee yet.
We used to go to Burntown Mountain up there from Burntown and go to that mountain up there and pick strawberries and bring them home and candy.
For years, I felt like the land, that was part of me. I've only come to realize in the last few years that I'm going to be part of it sooner or later. So that's it. Just that attachment. I'd love to be able to get out here and turn land and not do anything but just plow. That's the most satisfying, or cut hay or whatever. But that doesn't make a dime.
Roamed up and down the Little Tennessee River from Franklin to Otto by myself when I was a boy growing up. Me and my brother, we thought you had to go fishing every day.
I like to walk up on the mountain here, and there's several logging roads up there, a couple of logging roads, and I like to walk on those. Go up the spring now and then. My spring is 900 feet back up in the mountain, so I like to walk up there and see how things are coming along.
You can smell like when springtime comes here, like you can go on a hike or something and just smell. I mean, if you go camping or whatever, you can smell like the campfire burns.
I help on the Appalachian Trail. Every Wednesday we go out and we take care of 60 miles, blow downs and fixing the side of the mountain where it slid off and just all that kind of stuff.
How is Macon County changing?
Through the centuries, this place has been chosen by people to live. It was one of the very central Indian locations before the European white man came here. If you look at it, you can see why. It's surrounded by mountains, lots of wildlife, gems, water, resources in the mountains, and then the valleys have rich soil for farming, rivers for transportation. And we also have a corridor leading south where you don't have to go over any mountains. It just leads straight into the south. So you can see how people would have chosen this. And it's still that way today.
We've been retired for about 10 years now. We moved up here from South Florida. Dick and I opted to come and spend a week up here 1 year, and of course we fell in love with it and with the area. That's how we ended up in this part of the country.
I could see it, like when we go, anywhere we go, there's a lot of Hispanics everywhere. And when we first moved here, there wasn't, like I felt like we were the only ones, but there was some, but not as much.
We're moving from a rural area to an urban area in Macon County based on tourism and retirement communities.
There's this unfortunate 4-lane that leads right to Atlanta. And people are coming up that 4-lane every day, escaping the city, just like we did. I'm part of that phenomenon. I'm here, so let's put up a barricade, down there in Otto and not let anybody else come in. But that's not feasible.
Oh, Lord, I say that there's more people here now than I ever thought I'd ever see living here.
Used to be you ride down the road and you wave at everybody because you know them all now. My dad, his finger go up at everybody. Who's that? Who's that? And you used to know him. Now I ride down the road, who's that? I don't know. You just wave because he waved. There's a lot more people and you don't know who they are.
Some of our best volunteers are people that moved in and that are retired. I would say that a lot of groups would shut down if it weren't for the people who have moved in and who are volunteering to keep them going.
I do think that fundamentally there's a lot of shared love for the land. It's just expressed in different ways, and the concern is from a different perspective.
I don't know. I feel like we're giving up a lot in Macon County. Folks are. We're just losing things that we used to. We didn't even think about it. I mean, I don't know anybody rabbit hunts anymore. There's no place to go. There's no place to run your dogs. It used to be a big deal around here. Well, you go about anywhere you want to go, and if somebody seen you on their land hunting, they'd wave and, or holler and tell you to come have you a cup of coffee and you get done or something. And now they got these damn yellow no trespassing signs. I don't know. We just, I think we lose a little bit every day.
In the last 20 years, we've changed from these older people that's died. we've changed to a newer generation of people that's both parents are working. They don't have time to raise a garden. You're not able to come to a feed store and look around and loafer and talk to everybody and see everybody in the community and trade. They don't have time. You don't have the older people that relied on that. Well, it was a source of income basically because they relied on that garden to feed them through the winter. People don't do that anymore. And this business that I am has changed completely, and especially in the last 5 years.
I think when I grew up here, 45 dairies in the county, something 45 or more. But late 40s, 50s, and by the early 60s, vast majority of them had gone out of business. Just in the last 25 years, such a major change. All the little farms that had pastures. People had small farms even though they worked other places. Now those pastures are filled up, if not with trailers, houses developed and whatnot. So that's the way most of these farms go. The land is more valuable for that than it is farming.
We've gone from the bottom land being the treasured land to the mountaintop land being the treasured land, and the most, you want to get high up, away from everybody, and with a big, great view. And unfortunately, some people, they want to build a great big house up there, and it doesn't occur to them that they're messing up other people's views.
Seen some of the mountain areas grow up into homes. Places that I've played now has homes on them, which were some of the steepest mountains here, I guess, in Macon County. Now has homes on them.
You're just tearing down the Smoky Mountains for what it used to be, and now it's just going to become a new development. I wouldn't have much more because, that's why we moved, because where we were living, it just kept growing. When we first moved there when I was little, there was land everywhere, and by the time we left, every lot on our street was taken up by a house. There's no more woods for us to wander in.
Sometimes when I come 64 from Hayesville at night and I see the big K and the Lowe's and the big Ingalls, and I'm thinking, God, is this Macon County? Is this where I grew up? This commercial area I cannot believe, and we're getting more chain motels, hotels.
Population density is increased, so that brings on problems of erosion control, sedimentation, as you well know, and et cetera, to try and deal with. Not that we didn't have those when we had some of these pioneer farms and so forth, just the crunch of the population. Of course, the corridors are being developed. 441 is rapidly under development and so forth. So, and those are all near water. And that's one of the complications here, is that we're well watered, so we have a lot of streams. We get a high rainfall, so we can even get perennial flow from 10 or 12 acres. And so that increases the complexity of trying to manage the resources and still provide, places for people to live. And we know from systems ecology that none of this is sustainable.
Like, the river gets muddy as hell, just after rain. And it's all runoff. So, it affects people who fish it.
The biggest thing that we have going in Macon County, as far as the economy, is what's done with real estate and development. And we certainly don't want to stop that, but we don't want to ruin it either. We want to keep it in a way that people want to come here, and it's still a nice place for people to live.
A misconception about selling real estate is that you want everything developed, because in fact you don't.
What are you selling? What are you selling? You're selling the beauty of what's here. If it has an outstanding view, you can bet the property is going to be more valuable.
If it's people in service industries, even with both of them working the way the land prices are here, there was one they showed, they had a sign, a for sale sign, and it was a piece, of course it was a beautiful site, vista, but it was a 1 acre lot for $275,000. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and so they went into saying what the average house site is and all, and it's moving faster than people's income. A lot of people's income can catch it.
And if we don't do something, every one of our mountains is going to be the same. I've told my grandson, I said, you better get here and take some pictures of these mountains right now, while there's not a house on every one of them.
And we're not planning for the growth. We're growing. That's all we're doing. We're just growing.
How can a growing population share a changing Macon County landscape?
If one person's land use decisions affect the community, should other community members' positions be taken into account? And if so, how? If not, why not?
Definitely the community or the county should have some say
and what's happening.
Have laws, because no, I think that's be much better than the individual.
I kind of got this thing about if people's got property and pay their taxes, I, feel like basically they should kind of do what they want to with it.
How do we become more crowded and maintain what they all came here for to begin with? That can happen, again, by defining where we want that growth to be and how we want that growth to happen. Of course, the other issue is the private rights issue, and my right to do what I want, but my rights are restricted by society, and I'm willing to give up some of those rights.
The point I'm trying to make is they're entitled to use that property however they want, and it's none of my business. They are liable in a court of law for damage that they cause, but they're not liable for the value of my property going down.
When you're raised like I was, and you've been able to do as you pleased, it's very difficult to admit that, you think government ought to put controls over what you do. But we have a lot of people, we have a lot of growth, and when you get that many people in small areas, I have to admit that there are some things that I think that the local government can do to make things better for people. And there's one thing I've learned: things change whether you like it or not.
One of the biggest things I like about it is the freedom from the type of restrictions that I grew up with in the major cities. There isn't a law against everything that you do around here. That freedom, of course, is a double-edged situation, but we feel like one of the nice parts about the area is that it's our responsibility to maintain our part of it, and it's not a induced responsibility. It's ours that we feel from within, and we take a lot of pride in that.
And the Bible very clearly teaches us that we're to be good stewards. We're all quite aware of the fact that God is not making any more land, but a lot more people. So we have to be careful with how that we take care of our land.
We're going to have the commercial growth, we're going to have the residential growth, but if we can have it concentrated where the roads already are, that keeps us from having to build more four-lane highways through the county, messing up farmland and mountains and so on. So to me, if you can get the water and sewer going where that four-lane is already, that would make sense to me where the commercial growth would be.
There's going to have to be some planning whether people like it or not. I'm a native here, and I'm not against a mobile home. I'm not against anybody that's raising a family, but there needs to be something on this main corridor because it's an eyesore. From the Georgia state line on 441, from here to the Jackson County line on 441, because this is where everybody's coming in, and this is where you get things in here that you don't want. I think that we need that to preserve, and we need to start now. And if we don't do that, then our kids and grandchildren are not going to be able to enjoy some of the things that I did.
Highlands is a good example of what good planning and zoning can do. You don't have to look too far to see what the benefits are. I mean, you manage to contain your commercial area to where it's reasonably attractive because we just didn't want to see the strip.
Because I think we've got a tremendous opportunity right now to do some things about the floodplain. We've just had an object lesson. A lot of people are right now of a frame of mind that maybe they weren't a year ago.
What went on in Peaks Creek, my God, that's the worst thing that's ever happened in Macon County. And I think there could be some good come out of it. I'm afraid stuff like that's going to start happening because we're building houses on too steep of slopes.
The local people live by the stream. They're gone. The houses are gone. And it's put a note of caution in my thinking that when somebody comes in and says, I want something on the stream, I think I'm going to suggest that they look real carefully at where it is and visualize a hurricane dumping 12 inches of rain in 12 hours and that stream gets up. Where's your house going to be? That may sound a little strange, a realtor talking himself out of a sail, but you really need to take that in consideration now. Always should have, but I don't think this was really a rare occasion. We'll have hurricane effect up here regularly.
I think things like mountainside development and floodplain development and slide area development, this year we're going to talk about it in those terms. That this is, the whole community shares the risk for those things. And maybe at some point we can start quantifying economic risk so we can go beyond that and talk about, well, you know, in 20 years if we continue to build this way, here's your dollar value on what we're going to lose out on.
Well, I mean, building a house in a floodplain, I mean, you gotta have common sense. I mean, you build in a floodplain, oh, the water won't reach here, then why'd they build the floodplain?
And put a restriction order that they could not build high up on the mountain.
Since I'm a natural vista person, you know, I think they ought to seriously address a means of being able to protect the beauty of their natural vistas. The whole object is just not to destroy the beauty of western North Carolina.
Why should the view of the mountains for all of us be ruined by some rich cat that builds some obnoxiously huge house right on top of a ridgeline? Why should the rest of us have our view ruined so this one single fat cat can look out on the riffraff?
We need more in these conservation areas, I think. And I think voluntary is a way to do that.
We have a conservation easement, so it will always be a farm. And that's one reason we put this in the land trust, because it's cost two people's lives already. It literally cost my wife's life, and it's taken all of mine. And it will for the rest of my life.
What would you like to see happen to Macon County in the future?
Do you want a nice community? Do you want the things to look better? Do you want the buildings to be more attractive? Do you want our horizons to be gorgeous? Do you want to continue that? You know, how can we complement the community we live in? How can we complement the mountains?
I don't have a crystal ball, and as an old timer and one who has roots here, I guess people like me would like to see it stay the same. And obviously that's not going to happen. There's going to be change, and what we want to do is plan so that that change will make it at least be as good and maybe better than what we have now. But we've got to do some land planning or something to curtail the growth or regulate the growth so that we still maintain our good, clean environment and good way of life, and that we all enjoy. So,
if I had my vision, I don't know. Leave it alone. That'd be my vision. Let it become whatever it'll become. I don't want it the way I would want it. I would have to have control of it for it to be some kind of vision for me. Okay, and I don't want control of it.
Well, I'd like to see some rural left. It's just a respect for the land and the beauty of the land, and keep it as an inheritance.
I like jelly bean neighborhoods, mixed use neighborhoods, where you have a variety of things going on, not just residential. I think there will always be some agriculture here because the bottomlands flood and they're not suitable for anything but agriculture, and they're very rich and productive in that.
Best case scenario, everybody that moved here since 1987 be required to leave.
Since 1987.
No, I came in 86.
No, we came in 88.
Oh, since 89. Since 89.
Oh no. You almost got caught by your own rule.
Since 89. Everybody that came since 89 be required to pack up and leave.
Well, I'd like to see something like a mix of rural and town uses that we've had traditionally, and I hope that increasingly we can have other types of what might be called urban employment, where people are self-employed or work on the internet. But such a thing that preserves the rural landscape and some of the rural uses, because if there are no farm and forest uses, there won't be any farm and forest landscape. The principal product of a forest, I think most foresters would agree at this point, is clean water. And it is vitally important to us. I would like to see the floodplain kept free of houses as possible, and I would like to see the tops of the ridges and the forested slopes kept, because I think we need it for clean air, we need it for clean water, and we need it for the rural uses of land that's going to keep us a rural economy and a rural landscape.
I would love for there to be more understanding of the history of this area, because there are so many people coming here for the beauty. Again, I almost think there ought to be a required course that you have to take to become a Macon County resident.
There is a pattern here. When a person first retires in this area, you build out in some remote, beautiful, isolated area beside a stream. By the time they get to their 80s, they want to move back into town. I'd like to see the town of Franklin, really develop those kinds of apartments or condominiums where people can live close together, and they can walk to thetheir doctor, they can walk to the grocery store, and yet you still can look out and see the Nana Hills and the Cowleys from your patio.
I would like to see, 50 years from now, for the county to be developed along the plans that it was 100 years ago. Open space land with hamlets and towns developed as the clustered population density. As more people come in, they'll have the choice. They can buy estate land in open spaces, single family homes in the immediate suburbs. They can buy a live-work space in the downtown. They know exactly where all the different options lie.
I love to do two things. One is create jobs, and the other is really impact the community in some way. The reason I want to create jobs is I want my grandkids to be able to have a great job in Franklin. I don't want them to have to go somewhere else.
I hope it'll develop, but I hope it'll be a good place to live, and and it won't destroy the beauty of the place, and have it so people can stay here and not have to leave to make a living.
How can citizens participate in shaping the county's future?
It's very, very complicated, and there's pros and cons on both sides. So how we will ever arrive at something that we can all live with is going to be tough. But yet, down deep inside, we all know that we need to. So it's a tough thing.
I think this process that we've been doing of going out and listening in the communities is really good, but we also have to get stronger response. I think people want leaders to listen to the people, but then they don't really respond to the opportunities to be heard.
Like I said, just what I've heard from more people, and I'm just telling you the arguments they have. And I think that's one thing, we're not informed that well. Yeah. We don't really know what's going on and what stuff means. I don't even have a clue what zoning is. I'm just telling you what I've heard old people say.
And the old people don't really understand it either.
I think when people start to realize that one of the only ways they're going to have a say about what happens in their community is to plan, is when perhaps they will start to become involved in the process.
I've always had a philosophy, and I've told my children this when I was raising them, and I have said this to many politicians: listen to the people who aren't talking. The majority of people don't like to come to public meetings. They don't like public speaking. They're not comfortable, and they're not going to get embroiled in a controversy.
The history of the Needmore Tract is a small example. There's got to be a more graceful way to bring these two groups of people with these different experiences together so that we can protect what is important to all of us. I think it's playing out in Macon County right now.
The Gibson Bottoms project was one of the first projects where the whole community came together to conserve their backyard, and it was just a huge outpouring of support for that project, and it was an opportunity for the land trust to step in and help out both sides. The developer wanted to get out of that project, so we were able to come in and offer him fair market value for the property, and also realize the wishes of the community at the same time in protecting that site that had been in farmland for generations from becoming an RV park. Given an opportunity, the community supports conservation and supports protecting the community and those traditional values they've held dear for so many years.
One thing I think in town would be for people to respond to the question, what do you like best about your community? Then have a town meeting where you've got all this information up and you've got maps of the area, you've got development shown on these maps so that people can walk around and look at the whole situation and see, okay, these are the things we prize, these are the things that are happening, what do we want to do to keep what we want and allow, some development or whatever. But to have an open kind of meeting where people just are really educated about what is going on and not just shouting at each other.
And people definitely need to think about what it is that they really like and value about a place and commit to protecting those few things at all costs. I mean, because you can't undo a house, you can't undo a road or undo these permanent landmarks that just pop up without much forethought.
We have to work very, very hard not to spoil what is so special and can never, never be replaced.
Yeah. We have this window of opportunity. It's like we're perched on the edge of what will Macon County be 30 years from now.
But these old mountains will get in your blood now. There ain't a doubt in my mind. I know that. I know that for a fact. These old dark blue smoky mountains, I'd never live anywhere else. And I want some kids to have that same feeling.